I stopped counting interviews after the 30th rejection. It wasn't because I lacked the qualifications. I had a degree in computer science, top grades, prestigious internships, and industry certifications. On paper, my profile was flawless. Yet, every single time I neared the finish line, the opportunity would slip through my fingers. I couldn't understand what I was doing wrong until interview number 93. Before I reveal the shocking moment the CEO pressed play on that recording, I have a quick question for you. Where are you watching this video from right now? Let me know in the comments below. For those who are new here, my name is Ruby, and on this channel, we dive into powerful, real-life stories. If you believe that parents should lift their children up rather than tear them down, please hit that subscribe button and share this video. The nightmare began right after graduation. To save money while hunting for a job, I made the decision to move back in with my parents. They were strict, traditional, and intensely embedded in every aspect of my life. Far too embedded, as it turned out. Initially, their constant questioning felt like typical parental concern. Where are you going? Who are you meeting with? What company is this interview for? But gradually, that concern morphed into something far more sinister. Every time I had an interview scheduled, an obstacle would magically appear. My mother would suddenly forget to give me transportation money. My father would casually remark, "That company doesn't sound stable enough for you." Without fail, I would arrive at my interviews late, visibly stressed, and completely unfocused. I failed to connect the dots at first, assuming I was simply plagued by bad luck. That was until a recruiter finally pulled back the curtain. "We were hoping to see someone more confident," she told me gently over the phone. "But honestly, your reference call raised some serious red flags." A reference call. I had never provided my parents' contact information to any employer. That was the very first crack in the foundation of lies I had been living in. The ultimate breaking point arrived during interview number 93. It was with a prestigious tech giant, a company I had dreamed of joining since my freshman year of university. The position was for a senior software engineer, complete with a high salary, an incredible benefits package, and relocation assistance. It was the exact opportunity I had spent years grinding for. I prepared relentlessly for days, rehearsing answers, reviewing my coding projects, and barely sleeping. On the morning of the interview, my father insisted on driving me. "Let me drop you off," he said, his tone entirely casual. It felt uncharacteristic, but I didn't argue. Halfway to the headquarters, he made an unexpected detour, stopping at a cafe and deliberately delaying us for nearly 40 minutes. By the time I finally walked through the company doors, I was out of breath and running late. I pushed through the interview anyway, but the atmosphere was noticeably ice cold from the start. The panel members kept exchanging skeptical glances. One interviewer seemed completely checked out, while another asked me questions I had already thoroughly answered in my written application. I left the building with a sinking feeling in my chest. 2 days later, the automated rejection email arrived. That night, consumed by insomnia, I began digging through my digital footprints. I meticulously reviewed my application archives, and what I discovered made my stomach drop. Every single company shared a horrifying common denominator: highly damaging reference feedback provided by my parents. Not once, not twice, dozens of times, they had been hunting down recruiters, behind my back, sabotaging my reputation by questioning my reliability, my attitude, and even my respect for authority. I felt the ground completely disappear beneath me. 92 interviews, 92 failures that I had bitterly blamed myself for, and every single one of them was an inside job orchestrated by the people I trusted most. I didn't confront them immediately. I knew I needed undeniable proof. I quietly lined up one final interview, this time directly with the CEO of a fast-growing startup. There were no intermediaries, no corporate HR portals, and absolutely no references shared. I kept the entire arrangement completely secret from my family. On the morning of the interview, I slipped a recording app into the side pocket of my bag and let the day unfold. Predictably, my father offered to drive. My mother insisted on packing a lunch, for good luck. I accepted it all with a calm smile, but this time, I was hyper-aware. At exactly 10:18 a.m., I overheard my father whispering into his phone in the kitchen. "I just don't think she's mentally stable enough for a fast-paced environment like yours," he muttered into the receiver. "She has a tendency to grossly exaggerate her technical skills." My hands trembled as I watched the audio wavelengths record every word. Later, my mother joined the conversation, eagerly validating fabricated stories about my supposed behavioral issues. It was all there on tape, clear, deliberate, and deeply malicious. Despite the emotional devastating blow, I went to the interview. I smiled, I articulated my ideas, and I answered every technical prompt flawlessly. But internally, a switch had flipped permanently. A week later, I was invited back for a face-to-face meeting with the CEO. When I walked into his office, he didn't hand me a coding test. Instead, he pointed to a folder on his desk. "I received a very peculiar phone call regarding your application," he said calmly. Then, he pressed play on his desktop speaker. My parents' voices filled the room. Every blatant lie, every calculated piece of sabotage, and every desperate attempt to cage my future echoed off the walls. When the recording finished, a heavy silence settled over the office. The CEO leaned forward, studying my reaction carefully. "I don't typically get involved in the personal dynamics of my employees," he said, "but this completely crosses the line." I sat there, utterly speechless, preparing myself for another doors to close. Instead, he leaned back in his leather chair and smiled. "So, let me ask you directly, do you still want to work here?" For the first time in my life, I didn't feel small. I didn't feel inadequate. I felt entirely liberated. "Yes," I replied firmly. He gave a single, decisive nod. "Then forget the references. You start this Monday." In that pivotal moment, the harshest truth of my life became crystal clear. Sometimes, the greatest obstacle to your success isn't the world outside. It's the very people who claim they are protecting you, while they quietly bleed you of your potential.